lovely people, my name is Nicole, and today I want to talk about all the books I read in the month of April. So last month was a pretty good reading month. Mostly I read a lot of really like summery contemporaries because it's been kind of sunny out, and so I've just been very much in that mindset. So jumping right in, the first book I read this month was Shades of Darkness by A.J. Collar, I'm sorry. So this was one of those books that there were a lot of elements that I really liked and a lot of elements that I was kind of just meh about. I really liked the setting. I thought the boarding school aspect was really cool. I love boarding school stories. I mean, that's what happens when you're raised on Harry Potter. I'm kind of a sucker for it. And I really liked the sort of mythology aspect. I thought that was really interesting. I also loved just the art. We were surrounded by so much art all the time, and it was so cool. It very much felt like reading a mystery novel, sort of putting pieces of what we're learning about the main character's past together and figuring out what the hell happened. However, I did have some issues. First of all, with the writing style, it felt kind of info dumpy at times and just sort of, not bad, just kind of basic, not particularly like elegant. It's not one of those writing styles that you come away from the book just being like, wow, that was absolutely beautiful. It was really interesting plot-wise and character-wise. The writing style just didn't really stand out as one of the strong suits. I also struggled a bit with the main character. I liked her. There were just a number of times where she felt kind of forced quirky. The way her makeup was described, the fact that she was constantly using slang from like the 50s, her streaked hair. It's not that like each individual aspect was an issue, it's just that all of it together, I was kind of like, okay, I get it. She's alternative, she's quirky, she's an artist. I get it. It's enough. Just kind of breathe. Although I did appreciate her personality. Overall, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'll probably continue with the series, but it didn't exactly stand out that much or blow my mind. Then I read Catch a Falling Star by Kim Culbertson. This one was just pure, fluffy, adorable romance. It was summery, it was small town girl and a movie star fall in love kind of thing. It also had a really great kind of hate to love relationship. It was just cute and fluffy and a lot of fun. Very great for summery, romance, contemporary kind of read. I gave this 4 stars. Then I read Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson, and whew, Morgan Matson is just amazing. I am in absolute awe at her ability to find the perfect balance between emotional, like tear your heart out, bawling your eyes out kind of plot lines, and then also just really cute, fluffy romance. It's absolutely incredible. I am so envious. This definitely made me cry more than any of her other books. There was a point that I started crying and didn't stop till the end. It was absolutely beautiful, and I really liked the focus on the fact that romantic love is important, yes, but it's not all there is. Familial love and friendship love is also really important, and I love that Morgan Matson focuses on that as well. 5 out of 5 stars. So good. Then I read Lungs Full of Noise by Tessa Mellis, and this is a short story collection, and it is weird and freaky, and I wouldn't read a lot of the stories if you've recently eaten, but it's really good. The entire collection is magical realism. Some of them are more grounded in reality with the more traditional storytelling style of you have specific characters that are doing specific actions at specific times, there's a story arc and all that jazz, and some of them are more experimental. You don't really get names of characters, it's more vague and not a clear like start, middle, climax, resolution kind of thing. But they're all really interesting and just bizarre in a fascinating way. I gave it 4.5 stars. Then I read The Disenchantments by Nina LaCour, and this is one of those books that when I finished it, I kind of just felt suddenly very like cool and introspective and like I need to go on a soul-searching road trip kind of thing, like get a bunch of really cool tattoos. This is very much a growing up, learning who you are, figuring out what you want to do with your life kind of book, and it is brilliant. I loved it. It felt very realistic when it came to emotions and relationships and endings, because this is very much about endings and new beginnings, because our main characters have just finished high school and are dealing with, now it's time to move on with your life, enter the next phase of your life. Like, are you gonna go to college? Are you going to take a gap year? Are you going to travel? What are you gonna do with your life? And I think that it handled it in a very sort of bittersweet but beautiful way. I love Nicole's writing. I would recommend any book she's ever written, even ones I haven't read yet. But I gave this 4.5 stars. Then I read Something Real by Heather Demetrios. This one, I constantly had to just put it down and remind myself to breathe, because I got so angry at some of the situations and some of the things that some people around her did in this book. It was very frustrating. I immediately felt a connection to the main character because we were frustrated about the same things, and people around her just being really, really shitty. And so it was a good, intentional kind of frustration, but it was extremely powerful frustration. I loved getting to know the sort of cast of the main character's friends and her brother, who is sort of her main best friend. And I loved that throughout this book, while it's not like their relationships were always perfect, her friends were really a pretty steady source of comfort and stability in her life when everything else was going to shit. Her friends were there for her, and I really, really appreciated that. Also, the love interest in this, while maybe not my type, is perfect for the main character. Absolutely adorable. I was 100% rooting for them all the way through. There were, however, a lot of characters, and part of that is just sort of the setup. This girl is in a family, and she is one of 12 siblings. Plus, there's a camera crew around all the time, and their parents, and their school friends, and their teachers, and all that. So it is a story that just lends itself to having a lot of characters, a lot of which we didn't get to know very well, and I'm going back and forth about how much I wish that we would get to know them more. Because 12 siblings is a lot to know and a lot to keep track of. But at the same time, they're so important in the main character's life, but we never got to know them. I don't know, I keep going back and forth about whether or not I'm upset that we didn't get to know them, or whether I'm relieved. But when I finished this book, my one issue was just that I felt like a lot of plot points weren't really wrapped up, and that there needed to be just a little bit more resolution. So I was very happy when I found out that there was a sequel. So I gave this one 4 stars. And then I moved on to the sequel, The Lexi Project, which is not a physical book yet, but it is available on Wattpad to read. And this one follows one of the siblings from the previous book, Lexi, as she goes off to LA and sort of tries to make her own way in the world of reality TV. She has her own TV show now. And I felt like my opinion of Lexi in this book really mirrored my opinion of Lexi in Something Real. Started off being not her biggest fan. I felt like she was kind of vapid and just not a very interesting or sympathetic character, but as the book went on, I grew to love her and simultaneously want to protect her, but also know that she doesn't need my help to protect her. She can protect herself and kick ass all on her own. I also really love the romance plotline in this one as well. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well. Then I read Starflight by Melissa Landers, and this is one of those books that as soon as I started and met the 2 main characters, I was like, you guys are gonna fall in love. You hate each other now, but you guys are gonna fall in love so damn hard. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. I loved the romance plotline. I loved the sort of quirky, adopted, randomly assembled family kind of aspect. I loved the space pirates. That was pretty damn cool. It was much funnier than I expected it to be. A lot of the sort of space battle type stuff went over my head, but that's not uncommon for big final battles to just completely go in one ear and out the other when I'm reading. I don't follow action scenes very well, but I definitely enjoyed reading this book. It was so much fun, and I really can't wait to read the next book in the series, which I think is more of a companion kind of thing, focusing on two of these side characters in this book. Then I read Open Road Summer by Emery Lord, and this was just a fluffy, fun, summery contemporary, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the romance was fantastic. I've been reading a lot of romance this month, and I loved reading about some of the celebrity music aspects. I did, however, get kind of frustrated with the main character a couple of times. First of all, because she is really stubborn. There were so many times when I was like, okay, like, we get it, you're upset, you're frustrated, whatever. I get that, like, it's hard, but also get over it and, like, move on. We've had you wallowing and we've had you being stubborn about this for a while now. We get it. And I think it's one of those things that, like, in real life, that kind of thing is very realistic, to be just stubborn and upset for a really, really long time. But in a book, there comes a time when you just need to know to move on. And then I also got frustrated with her because despite the fact that for the most part, she was a very sort of comfortable in her own body, comfortable in her clothes, you know, sex positive kind of character, she was pretty slut-shamey at times and referred to a lot of the girls around her and at the concerts that they were at in kind of derogatory terms, and talking about how they were like just dressing a certain way to impress a guy, or like throwing themselves at the guys around her. And it was unfortunate, and I was kind of upset by it. But apart from those two aspects, I did really enjoy this book, and I think it was a fantastic, just light, contemporary, summery romance. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. I tried to wait until my physical copy got here, but I couldn't hold out any longer. I was going insane from being constantly paranoid of spoilers on Tumblr, so I got it on Kindle, on the Kindle app. I had to, and it was so good. Of course, I spent most of the book just on my toes, terrified anytime anyone like went anywhere near Gainsey. I was like, don't touch my baby, wearing Save Gainsey t-shirt, waving a little flag that said Save Gainsey. I felt very protective of him, and anytime anyone did anything that could potentially harm him, I got so anxious. As always, Maggie Stiefvater's writing is absolutely beautiful. There were a couple key moments that had some metaphors that were just amazing. But her writing is so incredible and darkly mystical, a little bit whimsical. I don't know, it's absolutely amazing. It did feel like a lot of new characters were being introduced, which was weird, especially because this is like the last book in the series, and for so many new characters to be introduced in the last book felt weird and like felt like a lot. And I wasn't really sure which of the characters were people that like I really needed to pay attention to and remember, and which of the characters were just kind of like throwaway characters. I did love the addition of Henry Chang, who was mentioned in a previous book and had a more prominent role in this book. I did really, really love him. I thought he was hilarious and adorable. But a lot of sort of the more shady characters I felt like were a little bit kind of like just, like what is going on? Hard to keep track of. But overall, I laughed, I cried, both in joy and in sadness. It was a very emotional book, and it was a fantastic end to the series. So those are all the books I read this month. Please let me know what your thoughts on any of them are in the comments. I love you, and I will see you later.